Have you ever felt stuck in a relentless cycle of busy work, forever reacting to daily demands, yet never truly moving closer to lasting financial freedom? You're not alone. Countless ambitious people spend their days firefighting urgent tasks, only to find themselves no richer, no freer, and no closer to the life they envisioned. This is not due to lack of effort, but rather because effort alone, when applied only to reactive tasks, never compounds into lasting wealth. 1 hour a day can make you rich is a transformative approach designed precisely to break you free from this reactive trap. This book introduces a simple yet powerful principle: dedicating just 1 protected hour each day, a sacred block of uninterrupted time, to proactive, asset-building actions that compound exponentially over time. Within these pages, you'll explore how consistency can help you cultivate a daily habit of wealth creation that delivers profound results. You'll discover why focusing on building assets, rather than simply completing tasks, is crucial for achieving lasting financial growth. Plus, you'll learn practical techniques used by legendary entrepreneurs like Warren Buffett and Jerry Seinfeld, who have proven that small, consistent actions can lead to truly extraordinary outcomes. Most importantly, you'll learn how to protect this sacred hour rigorously, guard it as fiercely as your financial future deserves, and begin building a legacy of wealth, even if consistency has been a challenge in the past. This book is more than a strategy. It is an invitation to shift your identity from someone who merely reacts to life's demands to a proactive wealth builder who deliberately invests in a richer, freer future. It's time to claim your hour and unlock your path to true wealth. Welcome to the journey. Chapter 1: The Case. Your phone buzzes. Another urgent email lands in your inbox. A colleague taps your shoulder with just a quick question. Before you know it, your day has been hijacked. Again, you're moving fast, checking boxes, staying busy. But at 6 p.m., when you finally look up from the chaos, a cold truth hits. You've made zero progress on anything that actually builds wealth. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Millions of ambitious builders are trapped in the same vicious cycle, drowning in reactive work while their most important projects collect dust. This chapter exposes the hidden enemy stealing your financial future and reveals the simple, daily habit that can flip everything around. The invisible thief. Here's what's really happening. Reactive work is stealing your best attention, and important work never gets started. Every ping, every quick favor, every unplanned meeting fragments your focus. Research shows it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully refocus after an interruption. But here's the kicker. Most knowledge workers get interrupted every 11 minutes. You're never reaching deep focus. You're operating in a permanent state of cognitive residue, where part of your brain is still stuck on the last task while trying to tackle the next one. This creates shallow output and decision fatigue. You're making hundreds of micro decisions daily about what to respond to, what to prioritize, what to postpone. By afternoon, your willpower is shot. The creative, strategic work that could transform your income, it gets pushed to tomorrow, which never comes. Meanwhile, low-value tasks crowd out asset creation and offer design. You spend hours perfecting someone else's presentation, while your own product ideas remain sketches in a notebook. You optimize other people's systems while your own revenue streams stay theoretical. Days end without measurable movement toward financial freedom. You've been productive, sure. Your task list is checked off, but you haven't created anything that compounds. Nothing that works while you sleep. Nothing that builds equity in your future. The compounding crisis. The deeper problem, you're not shipping reusable assets. Your time converts to tasks, not intellectual property. Tasks disappear the moment you complete them. Assets, templates, courses, systems, content can pay you repeatedly. One well-crafted sales page can generate revenue for years. One solid template can save you dozens of hours. One published framework can establish your authority and attract premium clients. Without assets, there's no leverage, no optionality, no scale. You're trading time for money in a 1-to-1 ratio forever. Your income has a ceiling, the number of hours you can work, multiplied by your hourly rate. That's not wealth building. That's an expensive job you happen to own. Confidence erodes when you're stuck in this pattern. You start defaulting to busy work because it feels productive. Checking email gives you a dopamine hit. Organizing files feels like progress, but deep down, you know you're running in place. The 1-hour revolution. What if I told you that one protected hour per day could flip this entire script? Not 8 hours, not when you find time. 1 hour, sacred, non-negotiable, aimed like a laser at building assets that compound. This isn't about working more. It's about working on what matters. It's about installing a daily habit that transforms you from a task taker into an asset maker, from someone who reacts to someone who creates. Here's what becomes possible when you commit to this practice. A durable 1-hour wealth flywheel emerges. Your audience grows through consistent publishing. Every day, you ship something valuable, a tip, a template, a mini course. People start noticing, they subscribe, they share. Your reach expands organically. Your offers evolve from micro assets to productized services. That checklist becomes a template. The template becomes a course. The course becomes a consulting package. Each iteration builds on the last, creating an ascending ladder of value and pricing power. Recurring revenue smooths cash flow and increases optionality. Instead of hunting for the next client every month, you have subscribers, members, and repeat customers. Your income becomes more predictable. You can take risks, invest in growth, and say no to projects that don't align with your vision. Your identity shifts from task taker to builder investor. You start prioritizing assets over activity. When someone asks for a quick favor, you weigh it against your asset building time. Usually, the answer becomes no, or here's a template that solves this. You measure lead indicators, not lagging vanity metrics. Instead of obsessing over last month's revenue, which you can't change, you track daily inputs, pitches sent, assets shipped, leads added. These are controllable. These predict future results. You expect compounding and design for it. Every asset you create is built to feed the next one. Your email list becomes the launch pad for your course. Your course becomes the foundation for your mastermind. Each piece amplifies the others. The cost of inaction. What happens if you don't change course? Chronic context switching leads to permanent plateaus. Your projects sprawl across multiple folders and platforms, but nothing ships. You start strong on Monday, get distracted by Wednesday, and abandon the project by Friday. This pattern repeats until you convince yourself you're not a finisher. Revenue stays lumpy and stress stays high. You land a big client, celebrate, then panic when the project ends. You're constantly hunting, pitching, hoping. There's no predictability, no foundation to build on. Your competitors win with consistency, not brilliance. While you're perfecting your someday masterpiece, they're shipping daily. Their tiny, imperfect assets accumulate. They publish more. You watch. Their tiny daily bets outpace your sporadic sprints. Here's the brutal math. Someone shipping one small asset daily will have 365 touchpoints with their audience by year's end. You, waiting for the perfect moment to launch your perfect product, will have one, maybe. If you're lucky, your first victory. When you finish this book and implement its system, you'll achieve something specific and measurable. You'll install a non-negotiable sacred 60 block for 30 straight days. Same time, same place, same trigger, every day. This is what we call keystone queuing, the environmental design that makes the habit automatic. You'll master the Start Now protocol. Begin within 2 minutes, no debate. No, let me just check email first. No, I'll start after this meeting. Timer starts, work begins, momentum builds. You'll define and track your 1 metric hour OMH. Maybe it's pitches sent, maybe it's assets shipped, maybe it's leads added to your CRM. Whatever moves the revenue needle most directly, that's your focus. You'll maintain a visible scoreboard and ship 10 to 12 micro assets in 30 days. Templates, checklists, mini courses, social posts that teach. Small pieces that prove your expertise and attract opportunities. The system that scales. This book gives you a 6-step system that builds on itself. Protect time through the Sacred 60 and win before work principles. Guard your best hours from reactive demands. Focus deep using the single task rule and attention guardrails. One window, one task, one outcome, no exceptions. Aim true with commander's intent and lead indicator focus. Know exactly what success looks like before you start. Ship assets through the minimum viable hour approach. Something concrete, valuable, and shareable every session. Learn fast via decision journals and pre-post mortems. Turn every outcome into wisdom for the next round. Compound gains by stacking assets into ladders and reinvesting time into what works. Small wins snowball into freedom. Each step lowers friction and raises payoff for the next. Miss any step and the flywheel breaks. Follow the sequence and the system carries you. Winners versus losers. The difference between those who build wealth and those who stay busy comes down to daily choices. Winners say 1 hour shipped. Losers say when I have time. Winners track streaks. Losers track excuses. Winners build assets. Losers check tasks. Winners protect their sacred 60 like their life depends on it, because their financial life does. Losers let every interruption derail their most important work. Proof from the pros. This isn't theory, it's how the most successful creators and entrepreneurs actually work. Jerry Seinfeld built his comedy empire through daily joke writing. His Don't Break the Chain method produced decades of material that still generates millions in royalties. One joke per day, every day, for years. No exceptions. Warren Buffett became the world's most successful investor through quiet compounding, not flashy trades or market timing, consistent, asymmetric bets over decades, small positions in undervalued companies, held for years, compounding into billions. Andy Grove at Intel pioneered OKRs, objectives and key results, later adopted by Google and countless other companies. The principle, tiny daily movements toward clear intent, measured and adjusted weekly. Massive outcomes from micro-actions. These aren't superhuman talents. They're ordinary people who mastered the extraordinary power of daily consistency aimed at compound growth. The math of transformation. Here's why 1 hour works when 8 hours don't. Depth beats duration. One focused hour produces more value than 4 scattered hours. When you eliminate context switching, your cognitive capacity multiplies. Consistency beats intensity. 365 focused hours per year outperforms sporadic 60-hour weeks. The compound effect of daily shipping creates momentum that sporadic effort can't match. Assets beat tasks. One template created today can save you dozens of hours next year. One published framework can attract clients for decades. Tasks end when you finish them. Assets keep working. The flywheel effect kicks in around week 8 to 12. Your audience notices your consistency. Opportunities start appearing. Revenue becomes more predictable. The system begins carrying you instead of you pushing the system. Your next move. Tomorrow morning, you have a choice. You can wake up and immediately check your phone, diving into reactive mode for another day of busy work. Or you can protect 1 hour, just one, for the work that actually builds wealth. The sacred hour awaits. The assets are ready to be built. The compound growth is ready to begin. But first, you need to understand exactly how to carve out this protected time and make it unbreakable. In the next chapter, we'll explore the precise mechanics of creating your sacred hour, the fortress that protects your wealth-building work from the chaos of daily demands. The revolution starts with a single hour, but that hour must be sacred, protected, and absolutely non-negotiable. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2, Sacred Hour. At 5:47 a.m., while the world sleeps, Maya Chen sits at her kitchen table with a steaming cup of coffee and her laptop. No phone notifications, no urgent emails, no quick questions from colleagues. For the next 60 minutes, she's untouchable. This isn't just early morning productivity. This is something far more powerful. something that transformed Maya from a stressed-out marketing manager drowning in other people's priorities into a six-figure course creator with a waitlist of eager students. The secret? She discovered how to make 1 hour sacred. But here's what most people get wrong about protecting time. They think it's about discipline. They believe willpower is the answer. They're dead wrong. The real secret lies in something behavioral scientists call environmental design. And once you understand it, your sacred hour becomes as automatic as brushing your teeth. The freedom equation. If you can't protect 60 minutes, you can't protect freedom. This isn't motivational fluff. It's mathematical reality. Control of time precedes control of income. Every wealthy person you admire has mastered this fundamental truth. They don't find time for important work. They create it. They don't hope for uninterrupted focus. They engineer it. They understand that one protected hour sets the pace and tone for the entire day. Think about your current morning routine. You wake up, grab your phone, and immediately dive into reactive mode. Emails, messages, news, social media, other people's agendas flood your consciousness before you've even stood up. By 9 a.m., you're already behind, already scattered, already playing defense. Now imagine a different reality. You wake up and immediately begin working on your most important project. No distractions, no interruptions, no competing priorities. Just you and the work that builds wealth. For 1 full hour, you're the CEO of your own attention. The habit itself becomes the asset. Consistency compounds effort into equity. Each protected hour doesn't just produce immediate output, it strengthens your ability to protect the next hour. Your confidence grows, your identity shifts. You become someone who prioritizes wealth building over busy work. The myth of perfect conditions. Before we dive into the mechanics, let's destroy 3 dangerous myths that keep people stuck in reactive mode. Myth 1. I need a full day to make progress. This is perfectionist thinking disguised as practicality. You don't need 8 uninterrupted hours to build wealth. You need 1 focused hour, repeated daily. Benjamin Franklin revolutionized American society with a fixed morning block for planning and reflection. He didn't wait for perfect conditions. He created them, 1 hour at a time. Myth 2. Creativity hates schedules. The opposite is true. Constraints spark creativity. When you have unlimited time, you procrastinate. When you have exactly 60 minutes, you focus. Deadlines force decisions. Boundaries breed innovation. The most creative people in history were also the most disciplined about their time. Myth 3. I'll squeeze it in later. Later never comes. Your day fills with reactive tasks, unexpected meetings, and other people's emergencies. By afternoon, your willpower is depleted and your energy is scattered. Mornings win because they're yours. Nobody schedules 6 a.m. meetings. Nobody sends urgent emails at dawn. The early hours belong to builders. The architecture of automatic. Now comes the real work. Building a system so robust that your sacred hour happens whether you feel like it or not. The foundation is what I call win before work, completing your most important task before any reactive activity begins. This means choosing a 60-minute window before messages and meetings invade your consciousness. For most people, this means early morning, but night owls can claim late evening hours. The key is consistency. Same time, every day, no exceptions. Once you've chosen your slot, communicate it once to relevant people and never renegotiate. Tell your family, your team, your clients, I'm unavailable from 6 to 7 a.m. every day. This is non-negotiable. Set the boundary clearly and defend it fiercely. Every exception you make weakens the habit and invites future interruptions. But here's where most people fail. They rely on willpower instead of environmental cues. Your brain craves predictability. When time, location, and action stay constant, the habit becomes automatic. This is called keystone cueing, anchoring your sacred hour to specific environmental triggers. Same time means your calendar shows a recurring, non-negotiable block. Same place means you work in the exact same location every day. Same chair, same desk, same view. Same trigger means you have a physical cue that signals the start of your sacred hour, opening your laptop, putting on headphones, or placing a specific notebook on your desk. The night before each sacred hour, stage your tools. Open the file you'll work on. Place your checklist where you can see it. Set your timer on the desk. When morning arrives, everything is ready. No decisions, no delays, no friction between intention and action. The 2-minute revolution. The moment your sacred hour begins, you have exactly 2 minutes to start working. Not to check email, not to organize your desk, not to just quickly review your calendar. 2 minutes to begin the actual work. This is the Start Now protocol, and it's based on a simple truth. Momentum arrives after you start, not before. You don't need to feel motivated to begin. You don't need perfect clarity about the outcome. You just need to take the first tiny action. Open a document, write a headline, sketch an outline. Your internal script becomes, I begin. Momentum will arrive after I start. No thinking, no debating, no negotiating with yourself. The timer starts, the work begins, and everything else follows. This is where the magic happens. Within minutes, your brain shifts into focused mode. The resistance fades, the ideas flow. What felt impossible at minute 1 becomes inevitable by minute 10. Money first mornings. Your sacred hour isn't for planning, organizing, or catching up on industry news. It's for revenue-generating activities only. One money-focused action before any reactive activity touches your day. This might mean sending 3 personalized pitches to potential clients. It might mean publishing a valuable piece of content that attracts your ideal audience. It might mean building a payment link for a new micro-offer. The specific action matters less than the principle. Your sacred hour moves you directly toward income. This focus transforms your relationship with work. Instead of hoping revenue will eventually result from your efforts, you're taking concrete steps toward it every single day. Instead of feeling busy but unproductive, you're building assets that compound over time. The fortress mentality. Protecting your sacred hour requires more than good intentions. It requires systems that make interruption impossible. Create a visual signal that you're unavailable. A door hanger, a status light, or simply closing your office door sends a clear message. Sacred hour in session. Don't disturb. Pre-write decline scripts for meeting requests during your sacred hour. I have a recurring commitment from 6 to 7 a.m. daily. I can meet at 8 a.m. or 7 p.m. instead. Simple, clear, non-negotiable. Keep a parking lot note nearby for random thoughts that pop up during your sacred hour. Instead of context switching to handle them immediately, jot them down and return to your focus. This offloads mental pressure without breaking concentration. Set your calendar event to busy, make it recurring, and turn off all alerts. Your sacred hour should be as protected as any important client meeting because it is the most important meeting of your day. The compound effect. What happens when you successfully protect your sacred hour for weeks and months? After 10 days, you'll have a streak worth protecting and 5 tangible outputs to show for your effort. Your stress levels drop because you're making daily progress on what matters most. You stop feeling behind because you're consistently moving forward. After 6 weeks, you'll have 12 to 18 valuable assets and likely your first inbound lead from consistent publishing. People notice consistency. They trust builders who show up daily. Opportunities start appearing because you've become visible and reliable. After 12 weeks, you'll have 30 or more outputs and potentially a new recurring revenue source. Your sacred hour has become the engine of your wealth-building machine. The habit is locked in, the results are compounding, and your identity has shifted from reactive worker to proactive builder. When the system breaks, even the best systems face challenges. Here's how to handle the most common obstacles. When conflicting meetings threaten your sacred hour, move your block earlier rather than later. If 6 a.m. doesn't work, try 5:30 a.m. Protect the habit by adjusting the time, not by skipping the session. Lock it in with a recurring calendar invite to yourself. Treat it like an unmovable client commitment. When low energy strikes at your chosen time, use a 3-minute reset, deep breathing, or a brief walk around the block. Don't use fatigue as an excuse to skip the session. Often, the act of beginning generates the energy you thought you lacked. When family or colleagues interrupt, despite your boundaries, have one clear conversation about the importance of this time. Explain that this hour directly impacts your family's financial future. Most people respect boundaries when they understand the stakes. When resistance or procrastination creeps in, fall back on the 2-minute rule. Open the file, write your intention for the session, start the timer. These micro actions often dissolve resistance and create forward momentum. The identity shift. Something profound happens when you consistently protect your sacred hour. You stop being someone who hopes to find time and become someone who creates time. You stop being reactive and become proactive. You stop being busy and become productive. This identity shift ripples through every area of your life. You make better decisions because you're not constantly in crisis mode. You communicate more clearly because you've had time to think. You feel more confident because you're consistently moving toward your goals. Your sacred hour becomes the foundation of everything else. It's the one non-negotiable that makes all other negotiations possible. It's the protected space where your future wealth is born. But protecting time is only the first step. Once you've carved out your sacred hour, you need to ensure that every minute within it counts. The next challenge is deeper than time management. It's about transforming your protected hour into a precision instrument that cuts through distraction like a laser through fog. Chapter 3: Deep Focus. Marcus stares at his laptop screen, cursor blinking mockingly in an empty document. He's been working for 30 minutes, but his browser has 14 tabs open. Slack notifications ping every few minutes. His phone buzzes with texts. His mind jumps between his current project, tomorrow's meeting, and that article he bookmarked to read later. Sound familiar? Marcus thinks he's being productive because he's busy, but here's the brutal truth. He's operating in what neuroscientists call continuous partial attention, a state where your brain never fully engages with any single task. He's not working. He's context switching himself into mediocrity. The solution isn't more time. It's deeper focus. And deep focus isn't about willpower or meditation apps. It's about engineering your environment so that distraction becomes impossible and concentration becomes inevitable. The hidden tax on your wealth. Every time you switch between tasks, your brain pays a tax. Scientists call it the switching cost, and it's bankrupting your cognitive resources without you realizing it. When you jump from writing an email to checking social media to reviewing a document, your working memory has to dump its current contents and reload new information. This process takes time, an average of 23 minutes to fully refocus after an interruption. But most knowledge workers get interrupted every 11 minutes, meaning they never reach full focus. The result? Depth multiplies output, while scatter halves it. 1 hour of deep, uninterrupted work produces more value than 4 hours of fragmented attention. Quality decisions emerge from clear thinking. Faster iterations happen when you're not constantly reloading context. Fewer reworks are needed when you get it right the first time. Clear thinking increases asset value per hour. A sales page written in deep focus converts better than one cobbled together between meetings. A course outline created without distractions is more logical and compelling. A pitch crafted with full attention lands more clients. This isn't just about productivity, it's about the quality of your output. Shallow work produces shallow results. Deep work creates assets that compound. The multitasking myth. Before we build your focus fortress, let's destroy the myths that keep people trapped in scattered thinking. Myth 1. I'm good at multitasking. No, you're not. Nobody is. What you call multitasking is actually rapid task switching, and it's making you slower and more error-prone. Research from Stanford University shows that people who multitask take 50% longer to complete tasks and make 50% more errors. Your brain isn't a computer. It can't run multiple programs simultaneously without performance degradation. Myth 2. More tabs equal more productivity. This is like saying more balls in the air makes you a better juggler. Each open tab represents a potential distraction, a cognitive load on your working memory. Your brain keeps a tiny portion of its attention on each open loop, leaving less capacity for the task at hand. More tabs don't make you productive, they make you scattered. Myth 3. Breaks kill flow. The opposite is true. Strategic breaks maintain intensity and prevent burnout. Your brain operates in natural rhythms called ultradian cycles, roughly 90-minute periods of high alertness followed by 20-minute periods of lower energy. Fighting these rhythms leads to diminishing returns. Respecting them sustains peak performance. The single-task revolution. The foundation of deep focus is deceptively simple. One task, one tool, one outcome. This isn't minimalism for its own sake, it's cognitive optimization. Before you begin your sacred hour, define one specific outcome and write it at the top of your page. Not work on the course, not improve the website, but complete the introduction video script for Module 1, or finish the pricing page copy with 3 clear packages. Specificity eliminates decision fatigue and keeps you anchored to your intention. Once you've defined your outcome, full screen your working application and hide everything else. If you're writing, only your word processor should be visible. If you're designing, only your design tool. If you're coding, only your development environment. This isn't about being rigid. It's about removing the visual cues that trigger context switching. Your desktop becomes a temple of focus. No email notifications in the corner. No social media tabs lurking in the background. No news alerts demanding attention. Just you, your tool, and your outcome. Building your attention fortress. Deep focus requires more than good intentions. It requires systematic removal of every possible distraction. Start with your devices. Enable Do Not Disturb mode across all your devices: computer, phone, tablet, smartwatch. Turn off every notification except true emergencies. That Instagram like can wait. That newsletter can wait. That Slack message about lunch plans can definitely wait. Create a physical signal that you're in deep focus mode. Put on noise-canceling headphones, even if you're not listening to anything. Close your office door. Put up a sign. These signals aren't just for others, they're for your own brain, creating a ritual that triggers focused attention. The goal is to make interruption physically difficult. If you have to take off headphones, open your door, and walk to another room to check your phone, you probably won't do it. Friction is your friend when it comes to avoiding distraction. The digital minimalism hour. Your sacred hour operates under different rules than the rest of your day. During this time, you're not a multitasking knowledge worker. You're a focused creator with one job: building assets that compound. This means one application only. If you're writing, close your browser. If you're designing, close your email. If you're building a spreadsheet, close everything except your spreadsheet application. This isn't about being extreme, it's about being effective. Install website blockers that activate automatically during your sacred hour. Block social media, news sites, shopping sites, and any other digital quicksand that might tempt you. Whitelist only the specific domains you need for your work. If you're writing about marketing, you might whitelist one research site. If you're building a course, you might whitelist your course platform. Everything else gets blocked. Keep a scratch pad nearby. Physical paper, not a digital note-taking app. When random thoughts pop up during your sacred hour, jot them down quickly and return to your focus. This offloads the mental pressure without breaking your concentration. Your brain stops worrying about forgetting the thought because it knows the thought is captured. The rhythm of deep work. Sustained focus isn't about grinding for hours without breaks. It's about respecting your brain's natural rhythms while maximizing productive time. The optimal pattern for most people is 50 minutes of deep work followed by a 10-minute reset. This aligns with your brain's ultradian rhythms while providing enough time to get into flow state and accomplish meaningful work. During your 50-minute focus block, you're untouchable. No exceptions, no emergencies, no just quickly checking anything. You're in the zone, building assets, creating value. During your 10-minute reset, you step away from your work completely. Stand up, stretch, take a few deep breaths, look out a window. Don't check email or social media. This isn't a break from focus. It's a reset for deeper focus. Your brain needs this brief recovery to maintain peak performance for the next block. After your 10-minute reset, restart your timer immediately. Don't negotiate with yourself about whether you need more break time. Respect the cadence. The rhythm becomes automatic, and automatic rhythms require less willpower to maintain. The pregame setup. Deep focus doesn't happen by accident. It requires intentional preparation that eliminates friction and decision-making during your sacred hour. Before each session, pre-build your focus scene. Adjust your screen brightness to a comfortable level. Size your working window to fill the screen. Open the specific file or document you'll be working on. Have your template or outline ready. When your sacred hour begins, everything is staged for immediate action. Keep a single next action sticky note visible on your desk. This contains the smallest possible step you can take if you feel stuck or overwhelmed during your session. Write one paragraph. Create one slide. Send one email. Having this visible reduces hesitation and provides a clear path forward when motivation wavers. Batch all your communications outside your sacred hour. Don't check email during your focus time just to see if anything urgent came in. Schedule specific times for communication, perhaps 30 minutes before your sacred hour and 30 minutes after. This creates clear boundaries and reduces the temptation to context switch. The compound effect of concentration. What happens when you consistently apply deep focus to your sacred hour? After 1 week, you'll complete one 50-minute deep block daily and finish one asset draft. The quality will surprise you. Work that used to take you 3 scattered hours now takes 50 focused minutes. After 5 weeks, you'll maintain 5 deep blocks per week and finalize 2 complete assets. You'll notice you need fewer edits and revisions because your initial work is cleaner and more thoughtful. Your error rate drops because your attention isn't divided. After 12 weeks, you'll have established a weekly publishing cadence. Your speed increases by 25 to 40% because you're not constantly reloading context. Your assets are higher quality because they're created with full attention. Your confidence grows because you're consistently shipping valuable work. The compound effect isn't just about quantity, it's about quality. Deep focus creates better decisions, which create better assets, which create better outcomes, which create better opportunities. When focus fails, even the best focus systems encounter obstacles. Here's how to handle the most common challenges without abandoning your deep work practice. Tab creep is the silent killer of focus. You start with 1 browser tab and somehow end up with 12. Install strict site blockers that whitelist only the specific domains you need for your current project. If you're writing a blog post about productivity, whitelist one research site. Block everything else, including your own company's internal tools, if they're not essential for the current task. Urgent pings will try to hijack your attention. Set up auto replies that activate during your sacred hour. I'm in deep focus mode until 8 a.m. I'll respond to all messages then. Review messages at fixed times outside your sacred hour, not during it. True emergencies are rare, and most urgent requests can wait 60 minutes. Restlessness often strikes around minute 20 when your brain realizes it can't have its usual dopamine hits from notifications and context switching. Use your scheduled 10-minute reset to move your body and reset your attention. Then restart with the smallest possible next step. Often, the restlessness fades once you re-engage with your work. Perfectionism can trap you in endless revision cycles. Enforce a hard stop at the end of your sacred hour. Ship version 1 of whatever you're working on, even if it's not perfect. Log improvements for version 2, but don't let perfectionism prevent shipping. Done is better than perfect, and shipped is better than polished. The focus identity. Something profound happens when you consistently practice deep focus. You stop being someone who tries to concentrate and become someone who works deeply. This identity shift changes how you approach all your work, not just your sacred hour. You start protecting your attention as fiercely as you protect your money. You say no to meetings that fragment your day. You batch similar tasks together. You create boundaries around your most productive hours. Your work quality improves across the board because you've trained your brain to engage fully with whatever you're doing. You make fewer mistakes because you're present. You finish projects faster because you're not constantly switching contexts. People start noticing the change in your output. Your ideas are clearer. Your execution is sharper. Your assets are more valuable. Deep focus doesn't just improve your sacred hour, it transforms your entire professional identity. But focus without direction is just expensive daydreaming. Once you've mastered the art of deep concentration, you need to ensure that every minute of focused attention moves you toward a specific, measurable outcome. The next challenge isn't about how deeply you can focus, it's about what you choose to focus on. Chapter 4, Aim True. Sarah sits in her perfectly organized home office, laptop open, sacred hour protected, distractions eliminated. She's mastered the art of deep focus. For 60 uninterrupted minutes, she works intensely on something. A blog post here, a course outline there, some social media content, a bit of website tweaking. 3 months later, Sarah has produced dozens of assets. Her output is impressive. Her focus is laser sharp, but her bank account unchanged. She's become incredibly efficient at being ineffective. Sarah's problem isn't time management or focus, it's aim. She's shooting arrows with perfect form but no target. She's optimizing for activity instead of outcome. She's measuring effort instead of impact. The difference between busy builders and wealthy builders isn't how hard they work, it's what they aim at. And most people are aiming at the wrong thing entirely. The precision problem. You can have perfect time protection and flawless focus, but without clear aim, you're just spinning your wheels faster. Clear aim converts hours into income because it forces you to optimize controllables, not fantasies. Most entrepreneurs chase lag indicators, revenue, profit, customer count. These metrics feel important because they represent the outcomes you want. But here's the brutal truth. You can't directly control lag indicators. You can't force someone to buy. You can't manufacture a viral moment. You can't will your way to $1 million month. What you can control are lead indicators, the daily actions that predict future results. Pitches sent, assets published, leads added to your pipeline, content pieces created. These inputs are entirely within your power, and they're what actually drive the outcomes you're chasing. Daily wins stack into quarterly breakthroughs. One pitch might get ignored, but 20 pitches generate conversations. One blog post might get no views, but 50 blog posts build an audience. One asset might earn nothing, but a portfolio of assets creates multiple revenue streams. The magic happens when you shift your focus from outcomes you can't control to inputs you can. Suddenly, every day becomes winnable. Every sacred hour moves you measurably forward. Every action compounds toward your larger goals. The military secret. The concept I'm about to share comes from military strategy, but it's the key to turning your sacred hour into a wealth-building machine. It's called commander's intent, and it's how armies coordinate complex operations without micromanaging every decision. Commander's intent is a simple statement that describes the desired outcome and explains why it matters. It gives everyone, including you, a clear target while allowing flexibility in how to hit it. In business, this becomes your commander's intent for cash, a one-sentence description of success plus an acceptable minimum. Here's the template. Today's win is specific outcome, acceptable minimum, floor. For example, ship 1 complete sales page draft, minimum, outline plus headline. Or send 5 personalized pitches to potential clients, minimum 3 pitches with custom research. This format does 2 crucial things. First, it defines success clearly so you know exactly what you're aiming for. Second, it provides a fallback position that protects your momentum on difficult days. You might not always hit your ideal target, but you'll never have a 0 day. The acceptable minimum is your insurance policy against perfectionism and overwhelm. On days when you're tired, distracted, or dealing with unexpected challenges, you can still claim a win by hitting your minimum. This keeps your streak alive and maintains forward momentum. The one metric revolution. Most people track everything and optimize nothing. They have dashboards full of vanity metrics that make them feel busy but don't drive results. Website visitors, social media followers, email open rates, these numbers might stroke your ego, but they don't pay your bills. The one metric hour, OMH, cuts through this noise by focusing on a single, controllable input that directly predicts revenue. This isn't about ignoring other metrics. It's about having one primary focus that guides your daily decisions. Your OMH should be something you can influence directly through your sacred hour. If you're a consultant, it might be qualified pitches sent. If you're building a course business, it might be valuable content pieces published. If you're launching a product, it might be customer interviews completed. The key is choosing a metric that's both controllable and predictive. You can't control how many people buy your course, but you can control how many valuable pieces of content you publish to attract your ideal students. You can't control which pitches convert, but you can control how many personalized, well-researched pitches you send. Set weekly floors for your OMH, minimum numbers that keep you moving forward even during challenging periods. 20 pitches per week, 3 assets published, 5 leads added to your pipeline. These floors become your non-negotiable baseline for progress. The lead indicator advantage. The reason most people struggle with consistency is that they're measuring the wrong things. They track lag indicators that fluctuate based on factors outside their control, then get discouraged when the numbers don't move as expected. Lead indicators are different. They're actions you can take today that predict tomorrow's results. They're controllable, measurable, and directly tied to your revenue goals. When you focus on lead indicators, every day becomes an opportunity to win. Replace vanity metrics with actions you can complete during your sacred hour. Instead of tracking website traffic, track content pieces published. Instead of monitoring social media engagement, track valuable posts created. Instead of obsessing over conversion rates, track the number of people you've helped solve specific problems. Review your lead indicators weekly and double down on what moves the metric fastest. If sending personalized LinkedIn messages generates more qualified leads than cold emails, shift your sacred hour focus accordingly. If video content attracts more engaged followers than written posts, adjust your content strategy. This weekly review process ensures you're not just consistent, you're consistently improving. You're learning what works, what doesn't, and how to optimize your efforts for maximum impact. The scoreboard effect. Humans are wired to compete, even with themselves. When progress is visible, effort increases. When wins are tracked, motivation compounds. This is called the goal gradient effect, and it's why visible scoreboards are so powerful. Create a visual tracker that you can see at a glance, a simple chart on your wall, a spreadsheet on your desktop, or a physical notebook on your desk. Mark each successful sacred hour with a clear indicator. Green for hitting your target, yellow for reaching your minimum, red for missing entirely. The visual feedback creates a psychological pull toward consistency. Nobody wants to break a streak of green marks. Nobody wants to see too many red marks in a row. The scoreboard becomes a game, and games are inherently motivating. Your weekly scoreboard should tally your OMH hits, note key lessons learned, and set the floor for the following week. This creates a rhythm of action, measurement, and adjustment that accelerates your progress over time. The scoreboard also provides objective data about your performance. You might feel like you're not making progress, but a streak of green marks tells a different story. You might think you're being consistent, but a pattern of red marks reveals the truth. The scoreboard doesn't lie, and it doesn't let you lie to yourself. The streak psychology. Color-coding your streaks taps into powerful psychological principles that make consistency addictive. Green marks create positive reinforcement. You want to see more of them. Yellow marks provide a safety net. You're still in the game, even if you didn't hit your ideal target. Red marks create urgency. You want to get back to green as quickly as possible. Pre-decide your sick day minimums to protect momentum during inevitable challenges. What's the absolute smallest action you can take during your sacred hour when you're feeling terrible? Maybe it's sending one email instead of 5. Maybe it's writing one paragraph instead of a full page. Having these minimums predetermined prevents you from using minor setbacks as excuses to break your streak entirely. Pair your scoreboard with simple rewards for weekly completion. This doesn't need to be expensive or elaborate. Maybe it's your favorite coffee, a movie night, or an hour of guilt-free leisure reading. The reward reinforces the behavior and makes the weekly rhythm something to look forward to. The compound measurement. What happens when you consistently aim true with your sacred hour? After 2 weeks of hitting your OMH 5 out of 7 days, you'll see a 10% lift in qualified leads or opportunities. This might not sound dramatic, but it's the beginning of compound growth. Small, consistent improvements stack over time. After 4 straight weeks at or above your floor, you'll likely see your first paid micro-offer or unexpected opportunity. Consistency creates credibility, and credibility creates opportunities. People notice when you show up reliably, and they start thinking of you when relevant opportunities arise. After 12 weeks of maintaining your streak, you'll experience a 20 to 40% lift in revenue from consistent inputs and develop a clear, predictable pipeline. Your business becomes less feast or famine and more steady growth. You can plan ahead because you know what actions produce what results. The compound effect isn't just about the numbers, it's about the confidence that comes from knowing you can hit your targets consistently. When you trust your ability to execute daily, you can make bigger commitments and take calculated risks that accelerate your growth. When aim drifts, even the best targeting systems encounter challenges. Here's how to stay on course when your aim starts to waver. Metric drift is the silent killer of progress. You start tracking what's easy instead of what matters. Maybe you switch from tracking pitches sent, hard to measure, to emails opened, easy to see. Revalidate your OMH monthly by asking, if I hit this metric consistently, will it directly lead to more revenue? If the answer isn't a clear yes, adjust your metric. Over-aiming is another common trap. You set ambitious targets, miss them consistently, and eventually abandon the system entirely. If you're missing your targets more than 30% of the time, lower your floor and keep your streak alive. It's better to hit smaller targets consistently than to miss bigger targets repeatedly. Boredom with your scoreboard can kill motivation over time. Refresh the design monthly, change colors, try a new format, or add visual elements that keep it engaging. Consider publishing your streak publicly for additional accountability. When others can see your progress, you're more likely to maintain it. The identity of precision. Something profound happens when you consistently aim true. You stop being someone who works hard and become someone who hits targets. This identity shift changes how you approach every aspect of your business. You start making decisions based on their impact on your OMH. Should you attend that networking event? Only if it helps you hit your metric. Should you spend time perfecting that presentation? Only if it moves your lead indicator forward. Should you take on that small project? Only if it aligns with your commander's intent. Your confidence grows because you have objective evidence of your progress. You're not hoping for results. You're creating them systematically. You're not waiting for luck. You're manufacturing opportunities through consistent action. People start seeing you as reliable and results-oriented. They know that when you commit to something, you deliver. This reputation becomes a competitive advantage that opens doors and creates opportunities. But hitting targets consistently is only valuable if you're building something worth hitting. The next challenge isn't about improving your aim. It's about ensuring that every perfectly aimed shot creates something that works while you sleep. Chapter 5, Ship Assets. David has been working on his course for 8 months. He's researched extensively, outlined meticulously, and planned perfectly. His Google Drive contains 47 documents of brilliant ideas, detailed frameworks, and comprehensive strategies. His course will be amazing when it's finished. Meanwhile, his competitor Jessica launched her first mini-course 3 weeks ago. It's imperfect, basic, and covers just one small topic. But it's live, it's selling, and it's generating feedback from real customers. While David perfects his masterpiece, Jessica is on version 2.0 of her offering, incorporating customer insights and building her email list. The difference? David is building tasks, Jessica is shipping assets. This distinction will determine who builds wealth and who stays busy. Because here's the brutal truth. Tasks fade the moment you complete them, but assets keep working while you sleep. The task trap. Most entrepreneurs are trapped in task thinking without realizing it. They complete projects, check off to-do items, and feel productive. But at the end of each day, they have nothing to show for their effort except empty checkboxes. Tasks end when you stop working. You finish the presentation, deliver it, and it's done. You complete the client project, send the final deliverable, and move on to the next one. You organize your files, update your website, or plan your quarter, and then it's over. The effort disappears into the past, generating no future value. Assets are different. They keep selling, attracting, and compounding long after you create them. A well-crafted template saves you hours every time you use it. A published framework establishes your expertise and attracts new clients. A microcourse generates revenue while you sleep. Assets work when you don't. Assets also raise your ceiling in ways that tasks never can. They build credibility because people can see your thinking and expertise. They increase your pricing power because you're not just selling time, you're selling proven systems and frameworks. They improve your deal flow because assets attract opportunities instead of you having to hunt for them. The shift from task thinking to asset thinking changes everything. Instead of asking, what do I need to do today? You ask, what can I build today that will work tomorrow? Instead of optimizing for completion, you optimize for creation. Instead of measuring activity, you measure intellectual property. The shipping revolution. What does it mean to ship in the context of your sacred hour? It means turning your daily effort into intellectual property that can be used, shared, sold, or built upon. Templates that solve recurring problems, checklists that systematize complex processes, scripts that handle common conversations, microproducts that serve specific needs. Every sacred hour should produce something concrete and valuable. Not just progress on a larger project, but a complete, usable asset that could theoretically be shared or sold immediately. This is the principle of no zero output days. Every session ships something, even if it's small. This approach seems counterintuitive to people who think in terms of big projects and major launches. How can you create something valuable in just 60 minutes? The answer lies in understanding that value doesn't require complexity. A simple checklist that saves someone 30 minutes is valuable. A one-page template that prevents common mistakes is valuable. A short video that explains a confusing concept is valuable. The magic happens when these small assets accumulate. One template becomes a toolkit. One checklist becomes a system. One video becomes a course. Small assets compound into larger offerings, but only if you start shipping the small pieces first. The legends of prolific output. History's most successful creators understood the power of consistent shipping, even when each individual piece seemed insignificant. Stephen King built his literary empire through a simple daily writing habit. Not by waiting for inspiration or perfect conditions, but by producing a minimum number of words every single day. This consistency led to over 60 published novels, countless short stories, and decades of royalties that continue generating income today. King didn't write bestsellers, he wrote daily, and some of that daily output became bestsellers. Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansson at 37 Signals, now Basecamp, revolutionized software development through iterative shipping. Instead of building massive, feature-rich applications, they shipped simple tools that solved specific problems. Each release was small, focused, and immediately useful. This approach led to multiple successful products and a business philosophy that influenced an entire generation of entrepreneurs. Pablo Picasso created over 50,000 artworks during his career: paintings, drawings, sculptures, ceramics, and prints. He didn't wait for perfect inspiration or ideal conditions. He created constantly, experimenting with different styles and mediums. Most individual pieces weren't masterpieces, but the sheer volume of output ensured that some became legendary. More importantly, each piece built his skills and reputation. These creators understood that prolific output beats perfect planning. They knew that shipping frequently creates more opportunities than shipping perfectly. They recognized that the market teaches you things that planning never can. The perfection paradox. Before you can become a prolific shipper, you need to destroy 3 myths that keep most people trapped in endless preparation. Myth 1. It must be perfect before it goes public. This is the perfectionist's trap. You convince yourself that your work needs to be flawless before anyone can see it. But perfection is subjective, and waiting for it delays learning and sales. Your version of perfect might be someone else's overcomplicated. The market will tell you what actually matters, but only if you ship and listen. Myth 2. Quality requires slowness. This confuses deliberation with procrastination. True quality emerges from iteration, not delay. The first version teaches you what the second version should be. The feedback from version 1 improves version 2 more than 6 months of additional planning ever could. Speed creates learning opportunities that slowness eliminates. Myth 3. Big launches beat small releases. This is the lottery ticket mentality, betting everything on one big moment instead of creating consistent value over time. Many small bets outperform one moonshot because they provide more learning opportunities, reduce risk, and create multiple chances for success. If one small asset fails, you have 19 others. If your big launch fails, you have nothing. The minimum viable hour. The key to consistent shipping is understanding what can realistically be created in 60 focused minutes. This isn't about lowering your standards, it's about right-sizing your scope to match your available time. Start by choosing an asset class for the month. Maybe it's templates that solve common problems in your industry. Maybe it's one-page guides that explain complex concepts. Maybe it's micro-courses that teach specific skills. Having a consistent format reduces decision fatigue and allows you to get better at creating that type of asset. Define your version 1 scope before you start each session. What's the smallest useful version you can ship in 60 minutes? For a template, it might be the basic structure plus instructions. For a guide, it might be the key points plus one example. For a course, it might be the outline plus the first lesson. Write this scope at the top of your document before you begin. Then timebox ruthlessly. Start your timer, build the smallest useful version, and publish or send it when the hour ends. No exceptions, no extensions, no just 5 more minutes to make it better. The constraint forces creativity and prevents perfectionism from killing momentum. After shipping, log any feedback you receive, add one improvement to your list, and queue version 2 for a future sacred hour. This creates a continuous improvement cycle that makes each asset better over time while maintaining your shipping momentum. The asset assembly line. Consistent shipping requires systems that reduce friction and eliminate decision-making during your sacred hour. Keep a tiny products backlog of 10 ideas that you can build in 60 minutes. When your sacred hour begins, pick one idea and start building immediately. No brainstorming, no research, no planning, just execution. Replenish the backlog during your weekly review, not during your sacred hour. Reuse fragments aggressively. A good paragraph from one asset becomes a social media post. A useful framework becomes an opt-in lead magnet. A clear explanation becomes an email to your list. Nothing you create exists in isolation. Every piece can be repurposed, combined, or expanded into other assets. Maintain a simple asset index that tracks what you've built. Include the title, link, purpose, and next improvement for each asset. This prevents you from forgetting what you've created and helps you see patterns in what resonates with your audience. The goal is to create an assembly line for asset creation. Each sacred hour follows the same process. Pick from backlog, build minimum viable version, ship immediately, log feedback, queue improvements. The repetition creates efficiency and momentum. The compound portfolio. What happens when you consistently ship assets during your sacred hour? After 30 days of shipping, you'll have 4 complete assets and likely receive your first qualified inquiry from someone who discovered your work. This might not seem dramatic, but it's the beginning of inbound opportunity flow. People start noticing your consistent output and thinking of you when relevant needs arise. After 60 days, you'll have 8 to 12 assets, with at least one micro offer generating its first $500 to $2,000 in sales. This proves that your assets have market value and that people will pay for your expertise. More importantly, it validates your ability to create things that sell. After 90 days, you'll have 15 to 20 assets, repeatable weekly sales, and early monthly recurring revenue of $1,000 to $3,000. Your asset portfolio is starting to work while you sleep. You're no longer just trading time for money. You're building intellectual property that generates ongoing value. The compound effect accelerates over time. Early assets attract audience members who buy later assets. Satisfied customers become referral sources. Simple templates evolve into comprehensive systems. Small wins create confidence that enables bigger bets. When shipping stalls, even the best shipping systems encounter obstacles. Here's how to maintain momentum when challenges arise. Overscoping version 1 is the most common mistake. You start building a simple template and somehow end up trying to create a comprehensive system. When this happens, cut scope immediately. One promise, one page, one call to action. Save the comprehensive version for later iterations. Stalled publishing kills momentum faster than anything else. You build assets, but never ship them because they don't feel ready. Pre-schedule a Friday ship day where you publish everything you've built that week, regardless of how it feels. Announce this publicly to create accountability pressure. Crickets after release can be discouraging, especially for your first few assets. Add a direct call to action to every asset. Ask people to reply with questions, share with colleagues, or sign up for updates. Then actively send your asset to your email list and 5 potential customers. Don't wait for organic discovery. Perfectionism loops trap you in endless revision cycles. Enforce a hard stop at 60 minutes. Ship version 1 exactly as it is, then improve it tomorrow. Remember, shipped and imperfect beats perfect and private every single time. The builder's identity. Something profound happens when you consistently ship assets. You stop being someone who works on projects and become someone who builds things. This identity shift changes how you approach every aspect of your business. You start seeing opportunities everywhere. Every problem you solve becomes a potential template. Every explanation you give becomes a potential guide. Every process you follow becomes a potential system. Your daily work becomes raw material for asset creation. Your confidence grows because you have a portfolio of proof. You're not just talking about your expertise, you're demonstrating it through the things you've built. Prospects can see your thinking, test your frameworks, and experience your value before they buy. People start viewing you as a creator rather than a service provider. This attracts different opportunities, speaking engagements, partnership proposals, licensing deals. Your assets become marketing that works 24/7, attracting opportunities while you focus on building more assets. But shipping assets consistently is only valuable if people can find and trust them. The next challenge isn't about building more things. It's about making sure the right people discover what you've built and believe in your ability to deliver on your promises. Chapter 6, Public Proof. Rachel has been building her consulting business in stealth mode for 6 months. She's created brilliant frameworks, shipped valuable assets, and maintained a perfect sacred hour streak. Her work is exceptional, her systems are solid, and her results are impressive. There's just one problem: nobody knows. Meanwhile, her competitor Tom posts daily updates about his progress. Day 47, shipped another client template. Week 12, just hit my 50th consecutive sacred hour. Month 3, here's what I learned from building 15 assets. Tom's work isn't better than Rachel's, but his visibility is creating opportunities that Rachel's secrecy never will. The difference isn't talent or effort, it's proof. Rachel is building in private, while Tom is building in public. And in a world where trust is the ultimate currency, public proof beats private perfection every time. But here's what most people misunderstand about going public. It's not about bragging or self-promotion. It's about something far more powerful, creating a feedback loop that makes your success inevitable. The trust economy. In today's marketplace, credibility is the currency for premium pricing and partnerships. People don't just buy products or services, they buy confidence in your ability to deliver. And confidence comes from proof, not promises. Visible streaks build trust you can't buy with ads. When someone sees that you've shown up consistently for 100 days straight, they don't question your reliability. When they can verify that you've shipped 50 assets in 10 weeks, they don't doubt your productivity. When they witness your transparent process, they trust your competence. This trust translates directly into business opportunities. Prospects pay premium prices to work with people they trust. Partners seek out reliable collaborators. Customers refer friends to builders they believe in. Investors back entrepreneurs with proven track records of execution. Public logs also create gentle pressure that protects your habit. When your streak is visible, breaking it becomes socially costly. When people are watching your progress, quitting becomes harder to justify. When your reputation is tied to your consistency, you find ways to maintain momentum even on difficult days. This isn't about external validation, it's about intelligent accountability. You're using social psychology to reinforce the behaviors that build wealth. You're making your private commitments public to increase the cost of failure. The visibility advantage. What does it mean to build public proof during your sacred hour? It means turning your daily work into short, valuable updates that demonstrate your consistency, competence, and progress. Not marketing fluff or motivational posts, but factual receipts of what you've built and learned. This approach transforms your process into marketing. Instead of creating assets in private and then trying to promote them later, you're building an audience that watches your assets come to life. People become invested in your journey and excited about your launches because they've seen the work behind them. Your streak becomes social proof that sells itself. When prospects see that you've maintained a daily practice for months, they don't question whether you'll deliver on your promises. When they can verify your output through public logs, they don't wonder about your capabilities. The proof speaks louder than any sales pitch. Your assets get discovered organically because people are following your process. Instead of launching into silence, you're launching to an audience that's already engaged and interested. Your public proof becomes a distribution channel that amplifies every asset you create. The masters of transparent building. History's most successful creators understood that visibility accelerates success, even when the individual updates seem insignificant. Jerry Seinfeld's "don't break the chain" method became a cultural phenomenon not because of its complexity, but because of its visibility. Seinfeld didn't just write jokes daily, he made his streak visible through a simple calendar system. This visible commitment became part of his brand and inspired millions of others to adopt similar practices. The method itself became proof of his discipline and dedication to his craft. Tim Ferriss built his media empire through public experiments and behind-the-scenes transparency. Instead of hiding his learning process, he documented it openly. His failures, discoveries, and iterations became content that attracted a loyal audience. People didn't just consume his final products, they followed his journey and became invested in his success. This transparency created trust that translated into book sales, speaking opportunities, and business partnerships. These creators understood that process transparency creates deeper connections than perfect presentations. People trust builders who show their work more than experts who only share polished results. Vulnerability and consistency combined create a powerful form of social proof that can't be manufactured or faked. The secrecy trap. Before you can build effective public proof, you need to destroy 3 myths that keep most builders hiding in the shadows. Myth 1, they'll steal my ideas. This is the scarcity mindset disguised as strategy. Ideas are abundant, execution is rare. Sharing your frameworks doesn't diminish their value, it demonstrates your thinking and attracts people who want to work with someone who thinks that way. Timestamps protect your intellectual property better than secrecy, and execution beats secrecy every time. Myth 2. Only final results matter. This misunderstands how trust is built. Process sells the result because buyers want to see how you work before they hire you. They want to understand your methodology, witness your consistency, and observe your problem-solving approach. The journey creates confidence in the destination. Myth 3. Sharing is bragging. This confuses documentation with promotion. Sharing becomes service when you teach and tally rather than boast and brag. When you explain what you learned, share useful frameworks, and document lessons that help others, you're providing value, not seeking validation. The intent behind the sharing determines how it's received. The documentation system. Effective public proof requires a systematic approach that creates value while building credibility. Pick one platform for your daily logs and stick to it consistently. Whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, or a personal blog, choose based on where your ideal audience spends time, not where you feel most comfortable. Your logs should be brief, factual, and useful, under 150 words with one screenshot or link that provides immediate value. Post a weekly, what shipped, what learned, what's next recap that summarizes your progress and insights. This creates a rhythm that people can follow and provides more substantial value than daily micro-updates. Include specific metrics, concrete assets, and actionable lessons that others can apply to their own work. Pin a living scoreboard that shows your streak, assets shipped, and key metrics. This should be easily accessible and regularly updated so prospects can verify your claims at any time. The scoreboard becomes a trust signal that differentiates you from people who make vague promises about their capabilities. Invite feedback and questions on every update, then answer with generosity and brevity. This creates engagement that amplifies your reach while providing value to your audience. The quality of your responses becomes additional proof of your expertise and character. The consistency framework. Building public proof requires systems that make documentation automatic rather than optional. Use a consistent label or hashtag so your trail is easy to find. Something like Day 47 of Sacred Hour or Asset Number 23 creates a searchable thread that people can follow from beginning to current. This consistency makes it easy for newcomers to understand your journey and for followers to track your progress. Keep your updates focused on outcomes and lessons rather than feelings and motivations. Shipped a client onboarding template that reduces setup time by 40% is more valuable than feeling grateful for another productive day. Facts build credibility. Emotions create noise. Celebrate major milestones publicly and thank early supporters by name. Week 12. Asset 50 or your first $1,000 in sales are moments worth highlighting. Acknowledging people who supported your journey creates loyalty and encourages others to engage with your content. Pre-schedule a week of updates during busy periods to maintain consistency. Use templates that require only minor customization. Day X, shipped asset type that's specific benefit. Key lesson, actionable insight. Tomorrow, next focus. This prevents gaps in your documentation when life gets complicated. The compound effect of visibility. What happens when you consistently build public proof alongside your sacred hour practice? After 30 days of public documentation, you'll receive your first warm inbound lead from someone who discovered your work through your updates. This validates that your transparency is creating awareness and interest. More importantly, it proves that consistent visibility generates opportunities without traditional marketing. After 60 days, you'll likely receive 2 collaboration invites, and notice that referrals begin happening organically. People start thinking of you when relevant opportunities arise because your consistent presence keeps you top of mind. Your public proof becomes a referral engine that works while you sleep. After 90 days, you may secure a partner deal or affiliate relationship, and develop a steady inbound pipeline of qualified prospects. Your documented expertise and proven consistency make you an attractive partner for others who want to work with reliable builders. Your public proof becomes a competitive advantage that opens doors. The compound effect accelerates over time because each update builds on previous ones. Early followers become advocates who share your content. Satisfied customers become case studies that attract new prospects. Your growing body of public proof creates momentum that makes future opportunities easier to secure. When transparency backfires, even the best public proof strategies encounter challenges. Here's how to maintain momentum when obstacles arise. Trolls and negativity are inevitable when you build in public. Don't debate or defend. Simply keep posting results and lessons. Consistent value creation overwhelms occasional criticism. Focus on serving your ideal audience rather than converting skeptics. Your track record speaks louder than any argument. Inconsistency in documentation can undermine your credibility faster than inconsistency in work. If you miss posting for several days, acknowledge the gap briefly and resume your regular schedule. Pre-schedule updates during travel or busy periods to maintain your visible streak even when your routine is disrupted. Oversharing sensitive details can damage relationships and competitive position. Share outcomes and principles rather than private data or confidential information. Landed a new client worth $10 is better than signed ABC company for $10K after they fired their previous consultant. Focus on what others can learn, not what might embarrass or expose others. The credibility compound. Something profound happens when you consistently build public proof. You stop being someone who claims to be good and become someone who demonstrably is good. This shift changes how everyone interacts with you. Prospects approach you with less skepticism because they've seen evidence of your capabilities. Sales conversations become shorter because trust is pre-established. Pricing discussions become easier because your value is documented and visible. Partners seek you out because they can verify your reliability and competence. Collaboration opportunities increase because people want to work with builders who have proven track records. Your public proof becomes a magnet for high-quality relationships. Your confidence grows because you have objective evidence of your progress and impact. You're not hoping people will believe in your abilities. You're showing them proof. This confidence translates into better presentations, stronger negotiations, and bolder opportunities. But building public proof and shipping assets consistently is only valuable if you're learning from each iteration and improving your approach. The next challenge isn't about creating more visibility. It's about ensuring that every cycle of work makes you smarter, faster, and more effective than the last. Chapter 7, Review Loop. Marcus has been crushing his sacred hour for 3 months. He's shipped 47 assets, maintained an 89% streak, and built impressive public proof. His output is consistent, his focus is sharp, and his momentum is undeniable. But there's a problem lurking beneath his success, one that will eventually derail everything if he doesn't address it. Marcus keeps making the same mistakes. He overscopes his assets, missing his 60-minute deadline by 20 minutes every time. He launches without clear calls to action, then wonders why engagement is low. He builds templates for problems that don't actually exist, creating assets that nobody wants. He's working hard, but he's not working smart. Meanwhile, his competitor Lisa has shipped only 31 assets in the same time frame. Her output is lower, but her hit rate is dramatically higher. Every asset she creates gets better engagement. Every launch generates more leads. Every iteration improves on the last. The difference? Lisa has mastered something that Marcus completely ignores: the art of learning from experience. This isn't about natural talent or luck. It's about closing the loop between action and insight, and most builders never learn to do it properly. The experience trap. Here's a dangerous myth that destroys more potential than any external obstacle. Experience automatically equals mastery. People believe that simply doing something repeatedly will make them better at it. They think that 10 years of experience is always better than 1 year of experience. This is false. 10 years of unexamined experience is just 1 year of experience repeated 10 times. Without reflection, repetition creates habits, not necessarily good ones. Without analysis, practice makes permanent, not perfect. Reflection turns reps into returns. It's the difference between mindless repetition and deliberate practice. When you examine what worked, what didn't, and why, each iteration becomes a learning opportunity. When you codify lessons into rules, each mistake becomes wisdom that prevents future errors. Faster learning curves and fewer expensive errors compound over time. The person who learns from each iteration improves exponentially, while the person who just repeats improves linearly, if at all. A clearer playbook improves both speed and confidence because you know what works and can execute it reliably. This is why some people plateau after initial success, while others continue accelerating. The difference isn't talent or effort, it's the quality of their feedback loops. Winners close the loop between action and insight. Losers just keep taking action. The intelligence amplifier. What does it mean to close the loop in the context of your sacred hour? It means creating a systematic process that captures lessons from each session and converts them into improved performance in future sessions. This isn't about lengthy self-reflection or philosophical journaling. It's about creating an external memory system that tracks your decisions, results, and insights so you can identify patterns and optimize your approach over time. A daily 2-minute log captures the essential data, what you aimed for, what actually happened, and your best guess about why. This creates a database of decisions and outcomes that your memory alone could never maintain accurately. Simple pre-mortems before important pushes help you anticipate failure points and build in safeguards. Concise post-mortems after significant outcomes help you understand what drove success or failure so you can replicate or avoid those conditions in the future. The goal isn't perfect analysis, it's consistent learning. Small improvements compound over time when they're systematically captured and applied. The flywheel becomes act, record, review, refine, then act better. The legends of learning. History's most successful decision-makers understood that external memory systems amplify intelligence and accelerate improvement. Ray Dalio built Bridgewater Associates into one of the world's largest hedge funds through systematic decision logging. Every significant choice was recorded along with the reasoning behind it and the eventual outcome. This created a database of principles that could be applied to future decisions. Dalio didn't just learn from his mistakes. He created systems that prevented his entire organization from repeating those mistakes. Jeff Bezos institutionalized learning at Amazon through written narratives and a correction of error culture. Instead of PowerPoint presentations, Amazon executives write detailed memos that force clearer thinking. When mistakes happen, they conduct thorough post-mortems that focus on systemic improvements rather than individual blame. This approach has enabled Amazon to learn faster and scale more effectively than competitors. These leaders understood that memory is unreliable and that insights fade without documentation. They created external systems that captured lessons and made them accessible for future decisions. They turned individual learning into organizational intelligence. The reflection myths. Before you can build effective learning loops, you need to destroy 3 myths that keep most people trapped in repetitive cycles. Myth 1. Reviewing wastes time. This is the productivity trap, believing that action is always more valuable than analysis. But not reviewing wastes the same mistake twice, which is far more expensive than spending a few minutes learning from experience. The time invested in reflection pays dividends through improved future performance. Myth 2. Experience alone equals mastery. This confuses activity with learning. Only analyzed experience compounds into wisdom. Unexamined experience often reinforces bad habits and creates false confidence. The surgeon who performs 1,000 operations without studying outcomes isn't necessarily better than the surgeon who performs 500 operations while carefully analyzing each one. Myth 3. I'll remember the lesson. This overestimates human memory and underestimates the value of external systems. Memory is leaky, biased, and unreliable. You'll remember the dramatic successes and failures, but forget the subtle patterns that actually drive most outcomes. Logs don't lie, and they don't fade over time. The learning architecture. Effective learning loops require simple, consistent systems that capture insights without creating friction. Your daily decision journal takes just 2 minutes but creates compound value over time. 3 simple prompts. What did I aim for? What happened? Why? Force yourself to include because statements that expose your assumptions. The asset took 90 minutes because I didn't define the scope clearly is more useful than the asset took too long. Before launching anything significant, spend 10 minutes on a pre-mortem. Ask, if this fails, what likely caused it? How can we prevent that? This exercise uses prospective hindsight to identify risks while you can still address them. Most failures are predictable if you think through the potential failure modes systematically. After completing significant projects or campaigns, invest 10 minutes in a post-mortem. Ask what worked, what didn't, what rule changes now. Focus on systemic insights rather than one-time events. Always define scope before starting is a more valuable lesson than that particular client was difficult. Your weekly review scans the logs, tallies wins, and picks one improvement to implement. This prevents insights from accumulating without action. The goal is continuous refinement, not perfect analysis. The pattern recognition system. The real power of learning loops emerges when you start recognizing patterns across multiple iterations. Use consistent tags to categorize your observations: scope, timing, outreach, pricing, delivery. This makes it easier to spot recurring themes when you review your logs. If scope creep appears in 5 different postmortems, you know where to focus your improvement efforts. Force specificity in your analysis. The client was difficult doesn't help future decisions. The client hadn't clearly defined success criteria, leading to scope expansion and revision cycles, gives you actionable intelligence for client onboarding processes. Convert insights into visible rules that guide future decisions. If you discover that assets created before 9 a.m. have higher quality than those created later, make early creation a visible rule on your scoreboard. If you learn that 3-day email sequences convert better than single sends, codify that into your launch process. The goal is building a personal operating system that gets smarter over time. Each lesson becomes a rule that improves future performance. Each pattern becomes a principle that guides better decisions. The compound intelligence. What happens when you consistently close the learning loop during your sacred hour practice? After 30 days of systematic reflection, you'll notice fewer repeated mistakes and clearer next steps each day. Your decision quality improves because you're learning from recent experience rather than relying on outdated assumptions. Your confidence grows because you understand what drives your results. After 90 days, a personal playbook emerges and your cycle times shorten by 20 to 30%. You've identified the patterns that predict success and failure in your specific context. You can execute faster because you know what works and can avoid what doesn't. Your hit rate improves because you're making better bets. After 6 months, you'll make more accurate predictions, command stronger pricing power, and achieve higher revenue per hour. Your learning loops have created genuine expertise that translates into market value. You can charge premium prices because you deliver predictable results. You can take calculated risks because you understand the variables that matter. The compound effect accelerates over time because each lesson builds on previous ones. Early insights inform better experiments. Better experiments generate clearer data. Clearer data enables more accurate predictions. More accurate predictions lead to better outcomes. When learning stalls, even the best learning systems encounter obstacles. Here's how to maintain momentum when reflection becomes difficult. Overanalysis paralysis can trap you in endless review cycles without action. Cap your reflection time and stick to it. Set a timer for your daily log, weekly review, and postmortems. When the timer ends, move to action. Perfect analysis isn't the goal, consistent learning is. Vague notes provide no actionable intelligence. Enforce specific causes and next actions in every log entry. Didn't work well tells you nothing. Conversion was low because the call to action was buried in paragraph 3 gives you something to fix. Always ask, what specifically would I do differently next time? Ignored insights waste the entire learning process. Convert every significant lesson into a visible rule or process change. If you discover that Tuesday launches perform better than Friday launches, update your launch calendar immediately. If you learn that 2-page assets get more engagement than 5-page assets, adjust your scope guidelines. The wisdom accumulator. Something profound happens when you consistently close the learning loop. You stop being someone who tries things and become someone who knows things. This shift changes how you approach every aspect of your business. Your confidence grows because it's based on evidence rather than hope. You're not guessing what might work. You know what has worked in your specific context. You can make predictions with accuracy because you understand the patterns that drive your results. Your speed increases because you don't repeat failed experiments. You've already tested the approaches that don't work and can focus your energy on the ones that do. Your learning loops prevent you from cycling through the same mistakes that trap less systematic builders. Your pricing power increases because you can guarantee results with confidence. When you understand what drives success in your domain, you can promise specific outcomes and deliver them consistently. This reliability commands premium prices and attracts high-quality clients. People start viewing you as an expert rather than an experimenter. Your systematic approach to learning creates genuine expertise that others recognize and value. Your insights become sought after because they're based on rigorous analysis rather than casual observation. But learning from individual iterations is only the beginning. The real transformation happens when you start connecting the dots between all your experiments, assets, and outcomes to create something much larger than the sum of its parts. Chapter 8. Compound Gains. Elena stares at her spreadsheet in disbelief. 6 months ago, she was a freelance graphic designer charging $50 per hour and constantly hunting for the next client. Today, she's looking at $8,400 in monthly recurring revenue from a business that barely requires her daily attention. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It started with one simple template she created during her sacred hour, a brand guidelines document that saved her 3 hours on every client project. That template became a toolkit. The toolkit became a course. The course became a membership site. Each piece built on the last, creating a ladder that lifted her from hourly work to asset ownership. But here's what Elena discovered that most builders miss. The real magic wasn't in any single asset. It was in how each asset fed the next one, creating a compound effect that multiplied her efforts exponentially. She had stumbled onto something that Warren Buffett calls the eighth wonder of the world, and it's about to transform your sacred hour from a daily practice into a wealth-building machine. The secret lies in understanding a mathematical principle that most entrepreneurs ignore completely. The multiplication miracle. Most people think about growth in linear terms. They believe that working twice as hard produces twice the results. They assume that creating 10 assets generates 10 times the value of creating one asset. This thinking keeps them trapped in the effort for outcome trade that defines employee mindset. Compounding is different. It's multiplicative, not additive. Assets beget assets in ways that create exponential rather than linear growth. A template becomes a course, a thread becomes an email list, a list becomes a launch platform. Each piece amplifies the others, creating value that exceeds the sum of the parts. Small daily wins snowball into freedom when they're connected systematically. The checklist you create today becomes the foundation for the system you sell next month. The case study you document this week becomes the social proof that closes deals next quarter. The relationship you build through consistent value becomes the partnership that transforms your business next year. This creates two profound shifts that separate wealth builders from task completers. First, your pipeline becomes predictable instead of feast or famine. You're not hunting for opportunities, you're managing inbound demand from assets that work while you sleep. Second, your optionality rises dramatically. You can choose projects, partners, and pace because you have multiple revenue streams and a reputation that attracts opportunities. The compound effect doesn't just change your income, it changes your identity from someone who trades time for money to someone who builds systems that generate wealth. The architecture of acceleration. What does it mean to compound gains in the context of your sacred hour? It means designing an asset ladder where each rung supports the next one and creating a reinvestment rhythm that focuses your energy on what's working while pruning what isn't. This isn't about creating more assets, it's about creating assets that connect. Instead of building isolated products, you're building an ecosystem where each piece feeds the others. Your email newsletter drives traffic to your course. Your course graduates become testimonials for your consulting. Your consulting insights become content for your newsletter. The loop becomes self-reinforcing. Quarterly themes focus your compounding on one vector at a time. Instead of trying to grow everything simultaneously, you pick one area and concentrate your sacred hour efforts there for 3 months. This creates momentum and prevents the scattered attention that kills compound effects. The goal isn't just growth, it's creating an unstoppable flywheel that grows even as effort per win declines. Each cycle should require less input to generate more output because you're building on previous investments rather than starting from scratch. The master of patient capital. Warren Buffett didn't become one of the world's wealthiest people through dramatic moves or brilliant timing. He achieved extraordinary results through steady, repeated bets that compounded over decades. Buffett's approach was deceptively simple. Find undervalued assets, buy them, and hold them while they compound. He didn't chase the latest trends or try to time the market. He focused on businesses with durable competitive advantages and let time do the heavy lifting. The same principle applies to your sacred hour assets. Instead of constantly creating new products, focus on identifying your highest performing assets and building the next rung on that ladder. If your email course has the highest engagement, create an advanced version. If your template generates the most leads, build a toolkit around it. If your case study attracts the best clients, create a series. Buffett understood that compound growth requires patience and focus. The magic happens not in year 1, but in years 5 through 10 when the compound effects become exponential. Your sacred hour practice is building toward that same inflection point. The growth illusions. Before you can harness compound effects, you need to destroy 3 myths that keep most builders stuck in linear thinking. Myth 1. Big wins require big leaps. This is the lottery ticket mentality, believing that success comes from dramatic moves rather than consistent progress. Many tiny rungs beat risky jumps because they provide more learning opportunities, reduce risk, and create multiple chances for success. The person who builds 1 asset per week for a year will outperform the person who spends a year building 1 perfect product. Myth 2. Growth is linear. This misunderstands how compound effects work. Growth is stepwise, with plateaus that precede leaps. You might see little progress for months, then suddenly experience rapid acceleration as your assets reach critical mass. The plateau isn't failure, it's the foundation for the next level. Myth 3. Set and forget. This assumes that assets automatically compound without ongoing attention. Winners prune and reinvest relentlessly. They identify what's working and double down while cutting what isn't. Compound growth requires active management, not passive hope. The ladder strategy. Effective compounding requires systematic thinking about how your assets connect and build on each other. Start by picking a quarterly theme that focuses your sacred hour efforts. Maybe it's scale flagship offer, or build email audience, or develop partnership channel. The specific theme matters less than having one clear focus that prevents scattered attention. Identify your top performing asset from your existing portfolio. This might be the template that gets the most downloads, the post that generates the most engagement, or the service that attracts the best clients. This becomes your foundation for the next rung. Build the next logical step in that asset's evolution. If it's a popular template, create a toolkit that includes related resources. If it's a successful post, develop it into a mini course. If it's a high-demand service, productize it into a scalable offering. The key is making the smallest possible improvement that adds significant value. Reinvest your sacred hour into scaling the winner while pausing low ROI projects. This requires discipline because it means saying no to shiny new ideas in favor of optimizing what's already working. But this focus is what creates compound effects rather than scattered efforts. Monthly reviews help you prune, double down, and plan the next rung. Look at your metrics, customer feedback, and revenue data to identify what's gaining momentum and what's stalling. Adjust your quarterly theme if necessary, but maintain focus on building upward rather than outward. The connection framework. The real power of compound gains emerges when you start seeing how your assets can feed each other systematically. Keep a one-page asset map that shows how your pieces connect. Draw arrows between assets that share audiences, solve related problems, or build on each other's value. This visual representation helps you identify gaps and opportunities for stronger connections. Time block a weekly compounding review to protect reinvestment thinking. This isn't about creating new assets, it's about optimizing existing ones and planning connections. How can your newsletter drive course sales? How can your course graduates become consulting clients? How can your consulting insights become newsletter content? Add simple automations that magnify distribution of your best assets. Email sequences that deliver your top templates. Social media posts that highlight your best case studies. Landing pages that capture leads for your most popular offerings. The goal is making your best work more discoverable and accessible. Look for opportunities to bundle, productize, or license your assets. 3 related templates become a toolkit. A series of case studies becomes a playbook. A proven framework becomes a licensing opportunity. Each evolution increases value while reducing your time investment per dollar earned. The momentum multiplier. What happens when you consistently focus on compound gains during your sacred hour practice? After 1 quarter of focused effort, one asset evolves into a small offer that generates your first $1,000 to $3,000 month. This proves that your assets have market value and that systematic building creates financial results. More importantly, it validates your ability to create things that sell while you sleep. After 2 quarters, your offer becomes recurring with $2,000 to $5,000 in monthly recurring revenue and a steady pipeline. You've moved from hunting for clients to managing inbound demand. Your business becomes more predictable and less stressful because revenue doesn't depend entirely on your daily efforts. After 1 year, you have a portfolio of assets compounding to generate $5,000 to $15,000 plus in monthly recurring revenue while freeing up significant owner time. You can choose projects based on interest rather than necessity. You can take vacations without income interruption. You can invest in growth because you have stable cash flow. The compound effect accelerates over time because each success creates resources for bigger investments. Higher revenue enables better tools, team members, and marketing. Stronger cash flow supports longer-term experiments. Greater credibility attracts better opportunities and partnerships. When compounding stalls, even the best compound strategies encounter obstacles. Here's how to maintain momentum when growth plateaus. Shiny object syndrome can destroy compound effects by fragmenting your attention across too many projects. Enforce your quarterly themes religiously. When new ideas arise, add them to a next quarter list rather than abandoning your current focus. Defer ideas, don't dismiss them, but maintain discipline about your current priorities. Overcomplexity can kill compound effects by making your assets too difficult to use or understand. Keep each new rung tiny and focused. Remove features rather than adding them. Maintain the core promise while simplifying delivery. Complexity might feel sophisticated, but simplicity scales better. Stalled growth often indicates that you're building what you think people want rather than what they actually need. Seek customer feedback actively through surveys, interviews, and usage data. Split test your promise, pricing, and presentation to identify what resonates. Sometimes, small adjustments create breakthrough results. The flywheel effect. Something profound happens when your compound gains reach critical mass. You stop being someone who works for money and become someone whose money works for them. This shift changes everything about how you approach business and life. Your confidence grows because you have multiple revenue streams and proven systems. You're not dependent on any single client, project, or opportunity. This security enables you to take calculated risks and pursue bigger opportunities. Your time freedom increases because your assets generate value without your constant attention. You can focus on high-leverage activities like strategy, relationships, and new opportunities rather than daily execution and client delivery. Your market position strengthens because you're known for systematic value creation rather than just individual services. People seek you out for your frameworks, systems, and proven approaches. Your reputation becomes a competitive advantage that attracts premium opportunities. Your optionality expands dramatically because you have the resources and credibility to pursue different paths. You can invest in new ventures, partner with other successful builders, or simply enjoy the freedom that comes from financial security. But compound gains are only sustainable if you can maintain the daily practice that creates them. The final challenge isn't about building more complex systems. It's about ensuring that your sacred hour habit becomes so deeply ingrained that it survives every obstacle life throws at you. Chapter 9. Keep going. The alarm sounds at 6 a.m. For most people, this is just another morning. But for you, it's different now. You don't hit snooze. You don't check your phone. You don't negotiate with yourself about whether today counts. You simply get up, walk to your workspace, and begin. This isn't willpower anymore, it's identity. Somewhere between day one and today, you stopped being someone who tries to be consistent and became someone who ships daily. The transformation happened so gradually, you might not have noticed it, but everyone around you has. Your clients trust you more. Your colleagues respect you differently. Your family sees you as someone who follows through. But here's what you've really built: a machine that converts attention into assets, assets into audience, and audience into revenue. And that machine is just getting started. The system that carries you. Let's crystallize what you've built over these pages into a simple, repeatable playbook that will serve you for years to come. The foundation is time protection through your sacred hour. You've learned to carve out 60 minutes that belong entirely to wealth-building work. No negotiations, no exceptions, no just this once. This protected time is the bedrock of everything else, because without it, nothing else matters. From that foundation, you focus deep using single-task rules and attention guardrails. You've discovered that depth multiplies output, while scatter halves it. One window, one task, one outcome. This isn't just productivity, it's cognitive optimization that makes every minute count. With protected time and focused attention, you aim true through commander's intent and your one metric hour. You've learned to point your efforts at controllable inputs that predict revenue rather than chasing outcomes you can't directly influence. This transforms hope into strategy. Your focused efforts ship assets through the minimum viable hour approach. You've mastered the art of creating something valuable in 60 minutes, proving that consistency beats perfection, and that done is better than perfect. These assets become the building blocks of your wealth. You show proof through public accountability and visible scoreboards. You've discovered that transparency accelerates trust and that visible consistency attracts opportunities. Your process becomes marketing, and your streak becomes social proof. You review and learn through decision journals and systematic reflection. You've built external memory that captures lessons and converts experience into wisdom. This prevents repeated mistakes and accelerates improvement. Finally, you compound gains through quarterly themes and asset ladders. You've learned to connect your assets so they feed each other, creating exponential rather than linear growth. Small daily wins snowball into transformational results. This isn't just a productivity system, it's a wealth-building machine that gets stronger with every iteration. The power you now possess. What you've learned fundamentally changes your relationship with success. You no longer wait for luck, permission, or perfect conditions. You control inputs daily, which means you control outcomes over time. You create assets that outlive effort, which means your work compounds rather than disappears. Every template, framework, and system you build continues generating value long after you create it. This shifts you from trading time for money to building intellectual property that works while you sleep. Your pricing power and confidence rise because you have proof of your capabilities. You're not just promising results, you're demonstrating systematic value creation. Prospects can see your thinking, test your frameworks, and experience your reliability before they buy. You've become someone who builds rather than just works. This identity shift changes how you approach every opportunity, challenge, and decision. You ask different questions. How can I systematize this? What asset could this become? How does this connect to my existing work? The relationship revolution. Your sacred hour practice doesn't just change your business, it transforms your relationships in profound ways. Reliability builds trust in ways that charm and charisma never can. When people know you'll deliver on your commitments, they stop questioning your promises and start counting on your performance. This trust becomes a competitive advantage that opens doors and creates opportunities. People begin referring you more frequently because they're confident you'll make them look good. Your consistency becomes their reputation insurance. They know that recommending you is safe because you have a track record of following through. Clear boundaries reduce your reactivity, which means you show up more present and unhurried in your interactions. You're not constantly checking messages or feeling behind because you've already completed your most important work. This presence improves every relationship in your life. Your family sees you differently too. You're no longer someone who talks about goals, you're someone who achieves them systematically. This creates respect and security that ripples through your personal relationships. The new possibilities. Your sacred hour practice unlocks capabilities that seemed impossible before you started. You can maintain a weekly publishing cadence without stress because you're creating assets daily rather than scrambling to produce content. Your pipeline becomes measurable and de-risked because you're consistently adding value and building relationships. You can create productized offers that generate recurring revenue, cushioning your business against volatility. Instead of hunting for clients every month, you have subscribers, members, and repeat customers who provide predictable income. You can take calculated risks because you have multiple revenue streams and proven systems. Your sacred hour practice creates the security that enables bigger moves and bolder experiments. You can choose opportunities based on alignment rather than desperation. When you have consistent income and a strong reputation, you can say no to projects that don't serve your long-term vision. The compound advantage. Here's why continued practice yields exponentially better results with less effort. Your system creates its own momentum. Templates, rules, and audience shrink future friction. Every framework you create saves time on future projects. Every rule you establish eliminates future decisions. Every audience member you attract reduces future marketing costs. Each cycle tightens the loop between action and outcome. You ship faster because you have proven processes. You get richer feedback because you have engaged audiences. You achieve bigger wins because you have stronger foundations. The system becomes self-reinforcing. Success creates resources for bigger investments. Bigger investments create better results. Better results attract more opportunities. More opportunities accelerate growth. This is behavioral compounding. where the habit itself becomes easier to maintain while producing increasingly valuable outcomes. The master's example. Stephen King understood this principle before anyone called it behavioral compounding. His daily writing discipline created an enduring catalog that continues generating revenue decades after publication. King didn't write bestsellers, he wrote daily. Some of that daily output became bestsellers, but the practice itself was the real asset. His consistency created a reputation for reliability that publishers could count on. His prolific output provided multiple chances for success rather than betting everything on single projects. The result? Over 60 published novels, countless short stories, film adaptations, and cultural impact that extends far beyond literature. All from the simple practice of writing every day, regardless of inspiration or circumstances. King's success wasn't about talent alone. It was about turning talent into a systematic practice that compounded over time. Your sacred hour does the same thing for your expertise and efforts. Your next move. You have everything you need to begin. The only question is whether you'll start today or find another excuse to delay. Block tomorrow's Sacred 60 right now. Open your calendar and create a recurring, non-negotiable appointment with yourself. Set it to busy so others can't schedule over it. Add an alarm that gives you 2 minutes to begin. No thinking, no preparing, just starting. Write your commander's intent and 1 metric hour on a sticky note and place it where you'll see it tomorrow morning. Make it specific. Ship 1 client template, minimum, outline plus instructions. Or send 3 personalized pitches, minimum, 1 with custom research. Pick a tiny asset you can build in 60 minutes and commit to shipping version 1 tomorrow. A simple checklist, a 1-page guide, a basic template, something small but valuable that you can complete and share immediately. The asset doesn't need to be perfect, it needs to be done. Version 2 can be better, but only if version 1 exists. The moment of truth. You're at a crossroads that will define your next year and possibly your entire career. One path leads back to reactive work, scattered priorities, and the endless cycle of being busy without building wealth. It's the comfortable path because it requires no change, no commitment, no risk of failure. It's also the path that leads nowhere new. The other path leads to systematic wealth building through daily asset creation. It requires discipline, consistency, and the willingness to start before you feel ready. But it's the path that leads to freedom, optionality, and the compound growth that transforms lives. The choice is yours, but the window is closing. Every day you delay is a day your competitors get ahead. Every week you wait is a week of compound growth you'll never recover. Every month you postpone is a month of opportunities that pass to builders who started when you were still planning. 1 hour, 1 action, 1 asset. Do it today. Do it again tomorrow. Do it until it becomes who you are rather than what you do. Protect the streak, and the streak will protect your future. The person you become through this practice will be capable of achievements that seem impossible from where you sit today. Your sacred hour awaits. Your assets are ready to be built. Your compound growth is ready to begin. The only question left is, will you start now, or will you still be reading books about success a year from today? The timer is set. The document is open. The future is waiting. Begin.